Hi and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is a superhero movie review and I'll be having a look at Kick-Ass 2. So this is obviously based on the comic book series produced by Mark Millar, or Mark Millar if you're from America. Obviously the sequel to the original Kick-Ass movie. Now I'm not going to go too much into the plot of this one because obviously it's a new release and I don't want to spoil it for anyone. Suffice to say this takes place a few years after the original and we've got Mindy and Dave kind of really honing their skills as sort of Hit Girl and Kick-Ass, and we see the rise of the world's first supervillain in the form of the Motherfucker, and he sort of gets together his evil army to get revenge on the events of the first film, and lots of action ensues. So that's pretty much all I'm going to say on the plot. Now, if you've read the comics, there are some changes to what actually happens in the actual comic book. So there's some fairly sort of major changes and a few minor ones as well. I won't sort of go into what they actually are. Suffice to say, if this film is probably far more violent than the first film, but it's not quite as goes to the level of the comic book. So you can imagine how violent that one is if you've not read the comic book. Now, on that sort of subject, so what I'll say about this film, it's pretty much bigger in every single way. It's got, as I say, far more violence in it, and because it's not an origin story, it kicks off a lot quicker, and we see we see action pretty much from the get-go. I have to say it's a lot funnier than the first one. There's some absolutely classic quotable lines in here that I think are absolutely hilarious, and the whole cinema was in stitches at some points. And I'd also say it actually is a little bit more emotional than the first film as well. Now, it maybe does do, you could criticise it, I guess, for kind of just amping everything up. And I think from a couple of the reviews I've read, that's kind of been the criticism. I don't really understand that criticism, to be quite honest with you, because as a piece of entertainment, I thought it was an excellent film. Now, if I had to have some criticisms of this film, I would say two things. My first, I guess, genuine criticism with it is some of the sort of supporting characters don't get a lot of characterization themselves and maybe not developed as well as they could have been. Now, if you've seen the first film, obviously Dave's got these two guys that are kind of his friends, and one of them's been recast, and his character, the one who's been recast, is pretty forgettable, and you kind of you barely remember his name. Plus a couple of the other sort of the superheroes that are kind of, again, there's not really much sort of characterization behind them. The only other thing I would say is this film, I think, is made for genre fans. I don't know how accessible it's going to be for mainstream audiences because it is so out there. Now, obviously, famously, Jim Carrey wouldn't promote this film because obviously the level of violence in it, and I have to say, it is pretty damn violent. Ironically, his character being probably one of the sort of the more reined-in characters, if anything. Nevertheless, everything about this film is amped up, as I say. The action, the comedy, the emotional beats. I thought it was fantastic. I thought all the actors did a fantastic job, well, certainly all the main actors. And what I found interesting with this film, you've kind of got almost an equal character development for kind of the three leads I did. You've got Hit Girl, Kick-Ass, and the Motherfucker. Yeah, I'm going there. And they pretty much get all, a reasonable amount of screen time to develop all their own arcs, which I appreciated. There's some quite interesting supporting characters, and a lot of death in this film. There's a hell of a lot of death in this film. I loved Mother Russia. I thought she was great. The actress who they picked, obviously, I don't think she's actually an actress. She's actually just some bodybuilder, but okay, maybe she's not going to be the greatest actress, but she's got a fantastic presence and is obviously very, very physically dominating. This film is for the superhero films that I've seen in 2013, this is my favourite out the ones that I've seen. So I'm going to go 9 out of 10 with this film. There's very hard for me to really pick criticisms about it, and the ones that I have got are relatively minor. Really, really fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Apparently there's a end of credits scene as well. However, I didn't stay to the end, so I couldn't say what it's like, if there is for definite, but apparently there is. So, stay after the credits and let me know what it is if you have seen it. I hope it does really well, because I'd love to see a third film in this series. Great, 9 out of 10, thoroughly enjoyed it. Go check it out and let me know what you thought. Bye for now.